Welcome back, and thank you for continuing on with me in this journey of miracles. I left off at the optometrist. I've now gone to the ophthalmologist because I had extra pressure in my head. The ophthalmologist assessed me, and he too wanted to find out how much extra pressure was really in my head. So he sent me to a neurologist. The whole purpose of me seeing that neurologist was for him to find out through a spinal tap how much extra pressure I had. I was only 18. I was in the room with him. I was in a gown, the needles on the counter. I was pretty scared. I was not looking forward to the spinal tap, but I needed to know why I had so much pain inside of my head. I needed answers. Now I want you to watch how God had his hand on that doctor for me. The neurologist walked over to me, didn't touch the needle, didn't touch my spine. He said, I want to do a CT instead. At the last second, God must have intervened, jumped in him, and said, don't touch her. She's my child. She has a destiny, just like you have a destiny. So he said, we're going to do a CT instead. Off to CT I went. They took all the pictures they needed. Next thing I knew, I was being rolled into a room with my mother, the same neurologist, and a picture of my brain on a reader. The neurologist sat knee to knee with me, and he showed me the massive tumor inside of my brain. And he said, I'm sorry, but that has to come out. We have to get you admitted. We have to get you set up for surgery. And we have to prepare you for brain surgery. I was 18, but I knew God. I didn't know the word like I know it now, but I believed in God. I believed in prayer, and I believed he was going to take care of me. So now watch how God works even further for me. The neurosurgeon came in to meet me. I was glorifying him. And he said, don't thank me. God is going to be your ultimate healer. To hear that from a surgeon telling me at 18 that God was going to be my ultimate healer, that meant so much to me. But I also realized God was with me. God's with you too. The story continues. And we'll cover that in the next session. But just remember, God's always there for you. He's your protector. He's your provider. He's your ever-present help in time of trouble. At 18, with a massive brain tumor inside of my head, I was looking at some trouble. But I believed that God was a good God. And I knew that God didn't give me the brain tumor. But I had a better revelation of that much later in my life. I had left off having the brain surgery. It was a successful brain surgery. I was in the hospital for probably a couple of weeks recuperating, but an interesting thing happened while I was recuperating. A nurse came in, and I shared with her what I just shared with you, my listeners, about the neurologist changing his mind at the last second. He had looked into my eyes one last time and decided he was going to do a CAT scan instead. When I told that nurse what the neurologist had decided to do, she said, you don't realize what a miracle that was. Had that doctor stuck the needle in your spine with that brain tumor being that big inside of your head, taking up that much space, the results could have been life-threatening. I won't go into the graphic details of what all she said to me, in case some of you have a weak stomach, but they would not have been good. More than likely, I would not still be alive, and horrible things would have happened to my head. It wasn't a guarantee, but she said that's a miracle that he chose not to do the CT, not to do the spinal tap, He did the CT instead of the spinal tap. And because he did that, because he listened to the Lord, I'm alive today to share this journey with you. So I'm home from the hospital now. I'm recuperating. I've done well. I've gone back to college, and I'm doing well in my classes. Typing 88 words a minute, The doctors were pleased. But whenever anybody has any kind of trauma to their brain, any kind of invasion to their brain, it's not unlikely for someone to suffer a grand mal seizure. I'd never in my life experienced that. But for the first time, I had a grand mal seizure. Now watch how God again took care of me, had angels camped around me, keeping me safe. I'm normally at home alone. My sister-in-law, Susie, happened to be at home, and Susie was my angel that day. I had passed out in the bathroom, had a grand mal seizure. She was able to call 911, get the help I needed, and then they started me on medication. Everything in my life seemed to balance out. I went back to college, and within a couple of years, I married a man that I knew in my heart that I did not want to marry.